Well, we're almost at the end of 2024. Some say it is the most wonderful time of the year, and I absolutely tend to agree, but that's because it is non-stop A-League women action, and it is one of my most favourite things of the year. Just non-stop dub. It is Christmas Day when we are coming to you. A little bit of a special episode here, so we're going to do a quick wrap of the A-League Women's Round 7. And then we're going to jump into some of our favourite and least favourite moments from 2024. My name is Poletti, hosting this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Roundball Australia Network, and I am being joined, as always, by Burke. Burke, what have you made of this wonderful and wacky year that we've had so far?
It's been interesting. There have been some highs and some pretty low lows for some. Um, but yeah, it's been a good year overall. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
And also joining us is Christian Montegan. Christian, what have you made of 2024 from a women's football perspective?
Yeah, I guess touching what Burke just said, obviously a few highs and lows. You look at the national team, the Matildas at the Olympics, that was probably one of the lows, which we'll get into. And then obviously the search for a new coach, this, and that. So there has been a few lows in that regard. But I think the women's competition, the dub, has definitely, you know, escalated another level in terms of, I guess, the quality and the interest that's attracted because of the Women's World Cup from last year. You've seen, the fans sort of, warm up to these players, and it's not, we don't need the Sam Kerrs of this world to play in this league to demonstrate what we're capable of, right? I mean, you can see, young kids, attending in the crowd and, looking up to some of these youngsters, and even some of the experienced players like Tamika Yallop, for example. Like, I think that's been one of the highlights for me for the dub, but we'll get into all of that shortly.
We will indeed. But first, as always, we are recording this just after the conclusion of round 7 of the A-League Women. So, Burke, what was your big storyline from the last week in Australian women's football?
Might have to be Sydney hitting the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I definitely think that qualifies as the biggest moment. So Wellington 2, Sydney 0 after the Wanderers managed to get a 1-1 draw against Perth on Friday night. Sydney had to get at least a point to stay above them on the table and failed to do so in Wellington. Christian, you wrote about Ante Juric last week for the Ramble Australia website, and we very much had a discussion here on the podcast about it as well. Things are just going from bad to worse for Sydney FC.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I actually expected Sydney to bounce back in this game. You always think to yourself, like, okay, surely it's going to click this week. Surely, like, Ante Euros, like, it cannot get this bad. And then, yeah, you just see it gets even worse. Like, you think, how is this even possible? That first half was pretty dour, to be honest, from both sides. I mean, there wasn't really much happening. And then in the second half, Wellington just took, I guess, full advantage. Sydney just they dropped back a bit and invited a bit of pressure, and that's all the Phoenix need. This Wellington side who are fearless under Paul Temple, and you can see it. They got their just reward in the end. And for Sydney, yeah, massive questions. I mean, for a squad of this talent, I mean, we've mentioned over and over again they've lost a few key players in the off season, but they're not a 12th, position tables. Like they just don't belong bottom of the table. As much as I like to see them there, and Burke can attest to that as well. It just shocks me they've only got 4 points in what out of a possible 21. I mean that's just absolutely shocking. And in terms of Juric, I just don't see his position. Being in jeopardy just because of his reputation. I'm sure the board will give him time to sort it out, but it is getting to that stage where finals is not looking very likely. And Poletti, you mentioned the group chat on the weekend. You think that Sydney's hopes are pretty much dashed?
Yeah, I don't. I just For me, it's a case of where are the points going to come from? They're struggling up front. They're struggling in the middle of the park. They're struggling defensively. They can't seem to work it out of the goalkeeping position either. Like they brought Bree Edwards in to be the number one. She had a good, like she had a mixed start to the season, I'll say. Talia Franco's come in, who hadn't played any A-League women's football, in well over a year, um, because just sitting behind Jada Wyman, and obviously, you're not going to kick Jada Wyman out of goals, and Talia Franco hasn't looked fantastic either. Very much mixed. If there was ever a game to sort of try to get Brie Edwards and her confidence back, I think this would have been it. The very classic revenge game up against her old side in Wellington. I mean, goals to Grace Jale, goals to Zoe McMeekin to seal it in the 88th minute, Jale in the 59th. But I mean, it's just there's so many problems. There's no transfer window to try and fix those sorts of problems. That's shut on the 25th of November. I mean, they could go and get an injury replacement because they have got a couple of injuries. We know Hannah Lowry's out for the season, but I think, Burke, with an injury replacement player, you're very much looking at someone who was already deemed surplus to requirements by Sydney FC and plenty of other clubs because they had to be a free agent prior to prior or when the transfer window closed. I mean, it's not great. I look at it. This is the first full home and away season that we've had. Last, not including last year, which had Unite Round, which took out one of the home and away games. But essentially, we're into the second year of a 22-23 game competition. If we put the benchmark to make finals at somewhere around 30 points, that's 8 wins for Sydney FC in the remaining 16 games. I can't see them getting 5 wins, let alone 8.
No, no, and I just want to preemptively apologize. I'm house sitting and dog sitting, and if there's any barking and or squeaking from a squeaky toy, I'm very sorry for what that will do to your audio. The dog hasn't cared about a squeaky toy until you hit record, which is so fun for everyone involved, me especially. But to your point, yeah, look, Sydney being bad for me right now is still a little bit funny. If you give me like another 2 or 3 weeks of them still being this awful, I will probably like switch to being really sad for them, but like in a funny way. Like, it's really sad that you guys suck. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I can't see them getting those wins either. Like if they wanted to come across as a team that's serious about finals, they'd have to pretty much win every single game here on out. And then we'd all have to change our tune and be like, oh, this season's been a masterclass from Sydney in like comebacks, blah blah blah. And I don't want to do that. Matter of fact, I won't. I won't do it. So Sydney, please stay bad. I think they will. I don't think an injury or replacement player is going to be enough to save them at this point, unless their injury slash replacement player is somehow like a gold medalist player. And even then, that's a lot to put on one player's shoulder. So,
I mean, the next run of fixtures, Victory at home, City at home, Perth away, Canberra at home, and they always struggle against Canberra. Mariners at home, and then Victory away. 4 points, 5 points, maybe at a stretch.
I'm gonna make a
Christian?
bold claim that Sydney will still make finals. I don't know how, but they
honestly,
just will because they just always find a way. And honestly, even
yeah.
though they've been so bad, it would not surprise you one bit. Just because that's just the character, it's just the culture that they've got. They somehow, when their backs against the wall, they just always seem to find a way under Urich. And it's sort of, I'm a bit hypocritical because I'm thinking to myself, perhaps as Urich stayed on for one season too long, you see this squad and you sort of think to yourself, has he gotten the best out of this playing group? Like, have they reached their ceiling? The likes of, Princess Abini, Mackenzie Hawkesby, like these types of players, they're just not delivering at the moment. And you feel as though like it wouldn't be a bad idea to just get a new coach with fresh ideas and perhaps a new philosophy and a new way of thinking moving forward. But like I said before, I just don't see that happening because of Juric, the amount of stock he's built up. He deserves every opportunity to turn it around.
Yeah, no, I think that that will probably happen, but it's one of those things where we will very much just have to wait and see. Christian, your big storyline from the last 7 days.
I can't look past Brisbane's win, the 6-1 win away to Newcastle. Not just that, it propels them up to second in the table. And before the season, I thought they'd have a better season than last season, but not to this extent, definitely early on. I mean, 7 games in, they're already sitting on what? I think it's 15 points, I believe. I think 2 points behind first. That's an amazing start for them, considering their squad. It's reasonable. Like, they've got some talent in there. Fryer with the hat trick, she performed obviously really well. Like, they've just got bits and pieces in there, a bit of experience as well, and just this game in general. I thought the Jets, yes, they were very poor and at home. You expect better from them, but like for Brisbane, a player like Momo Hayashi, even before, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, she's been a real standout for me. And again, in this game, just besides the goal, just her movement and sort of that box-to-box presence, just being everywhere, I just think a real glue to that side. And they've just got little gems like that in the side who have really helped this Brisbane side take it to the next level. And it's just the question of whether can they keep this momentum and consistency for the whole season, because in years gone past, I mean, at least maybe for the past few seasons, Brisbane they have been quite disappointing. So yes, it's a great start, but can they keep it up? That's the big burning question for me.
Yep, we should clarify. It was Lainey Fryer with the hat trick, not Sean. It was twin sister Lainey getting in on the action. Although Sean did set up her sister very nicely with one of the assists. It was Fryer to Fryer, and hopefully we're getting a few more of those this season. Grace Kuliamu in the 2nd minute. Cass Davis leveled it in the 32nd minute, but it was one-way traffic from there. Tamar Levin in the 34th. Lainey Fryer in the 42nd, 69th, and 72nd minutes. Momo Hayashi in the 49th minute for your 6-1 scoreline. A fun fact that comes to us courtesy of Marissa Ladanik. This is the 4th time in A-League women's history that a game has finished 6-1. Perth 6, Newcastle 1 in 2012, Sydney 6, Canberra 1 in 2017, and Canberra 6, Adelaide 1 in 2018. So this joins a very small list of 6-1 games in the dub. My big storyline was Holly McNamara back on the score sheet. She came very close last week. Burke, I know you've given her the assist, and I think in all of our hearts she has the assist, because you just can't like that goal doesn't happen without her. But I mean, it's just one of those. Mariana Speckmeyer opened the scoring inside the 1st minute. And then what might go down as the own goal of the calendar year from Melissa Barbieri was followed by Chelsea Dorber own goal and Holly McNamara getting her goal in the 74th minute. Burke, talk us through this game because this was insane.
So they open really quickly with City open really quickly with an incredible goal to Mariana Speckmeyer. Just the curve on it was just gorgeous. I'm not even going to try and describe it because that would be insulting to the goal. And then they leveled the score after a what looked to be a perfectly normal back pass from Rebecca Stott to Melissa Barbieri. And I guess she just lifted her foot too high, and instead of trapping the ball went under her raised foot, and she couldn't chase it back in time, and it went in. I saw it on FOTMob that the own goal was attributed to Rebecca Stott, which I am very, very against. That was not her fault.
I mean, the only thing I've seen.
It may not have been her fault, but that was her own goal. It was.
I mean, look, I've seen it attributed to Barbieri, which is what I've written in the
Good.
run sheet. Which
I would
is
also
honestly,
attribute it to her because that that was insane to say that that was Rebecca Stodd's fault.
It
Like
was.
I
Look,
understand. I understand like technically, but I don't care about technically. I don't care about
it's
it.
we established
That's
that last
insane.
week.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that happened. I've never seen anything like it before. I don't know if I'll ever see anything like it again. And then City's second actually scored goal was just an absolute mess in the mouth of the goal until it finally went in, I guess, off Dorba by the end of it. And then Holly Mack came on, yay. And Holly Mack did Holly Mack things and pretty much immediately scored a goal. And it was gorgeous. It was a sight to behold. And I'm so glad to have seen it, even if it was on my TV. Yeah, it was a really weird game. Really weird game. And I'm sorry for the squeaky toy in the background.
I mean, my cats have certainly done worse, and I think that's part of the appeal here on the Dubcast is we let our pets just be part of the show as they want to be. So just to quickly wrap up the other round 7 results. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Perth Glory 1. Amy Harrison with a free kick very late in the game before a late penalty to Perth Glory was converted by Kelly Brown. And a fun fact about this Kelly Brown goal was that Sham Karmas, MacArthur Rams goalkeeper, fouled Miku Sanaga, MacArthur Rams midfielder, and the goal was converted past Sham Karmas by Kelly Brown, MacArthur Rams striker. It's a goal made in the NPL New South Wales Women's. How good is that? We've already touched on 3 of the other results. Canberra United fell at home to Melbourne Victory 2-0, an away win for the Victory. And Western United 3, Central Coast Mariners 1. So Western United bouncing right back after their 5-1 loss last week to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, we are going to get stuck in to our least favourite and our most favourite A-League women moments from 2024. So the back half of last season and the front third of this season. Burke, we'll start with you. What were your 3 favourite moments and why?
So probably my top favourite would be City clinching the Premier's plate because that was really good for me personally. I haven't thought about these in proper order. What else happened at the
Just
end
blurt
of the
them out in whatever
season?
order they come out in, honestly.
One of the worst moments was the final for me because that game did not feel like a final at all whatsoever. And I don't want to give props to Sydney, and I won't because that game sucked. Um, what else was good? Oh, City qualifying for the Champions, the first ever Asian Champions League. Slade was last season. Was that this year though? When Casey Dumont took a penalty and then saved a penalty immediately. Was that this
No,
season?
I believe that was last season.
That was
So,
last
so
season.
like not last season, the season before, I believe.
Damn it. Because that was such a good moment.
In a Melbourne derby, no less.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what else happened in the dub? Damn.
I mean, if you need a little bit more time to think, I'm more
I
than happy to go
do.
with some of mine. So
Please.
my least favorite moments probably been the amount of games delayed due to heat, and I'll touch on that a lot more in our next episode. For me, I think honestly, just the manner in which Sydney FC have fallen off this year, I haven't been a huge fan of that because I we've touched on this ad nauseum already, so I'll keep it very brief. The talent that's in that squad should not be performing this badly. Like, in all honesty, it should not be performing this badly. Um, I think some of my most favourite moments, I would have to say, probably that grand final win. I think it was a very a very pressure absorbing performance from Sydney FC and showed defensive football at its best, hitting on the counter and securing a trophy. I think Unite Round, both editions of Unite Round, I think they go together because just bringing everyone together. I felt it was a lot more improved so far this season. Just everyone coming together, just so much football all in the one place. Just a real sense of unity, pun not intended. Uh, and then I think honestly, just how there we go. Actually, you know what? Yeah, the full home and away season plus Unite round this year. I think going to a full 22 game, everyone plays each other at home once, everyone plays each other away once. It's what we've been asking for years. We finally got it. So I think those are my most favorite moments. Christian, what are yours?
Yeah, so I've got three. The first one, although my love for victory, I think Casey Dumont, that penalty shootout in that elimination final, just to see her get that revenge on her old club. I mean, you can tell what it meant to her, and it was just a great storyline, I thought. And along also with the Mariners and the season they had coming back to the league after, 13, 14 years, whatever it was, out of the competition. I thought they were an amazing story for the dub last season. Second one would probably be the grand final itself being a standalone instead of a doubleheader. I think that just shows the growth of the league and how much it's come in the past few years, where it is at a sustainable position now where I guess we don't have to rely on, the men's competition or double headers, this and that. I think it's in such a healthy position. Yes, it's got room to grow. Obviously, we'd love more attendance figures, but I think it is on the right trajectory. Last one would probably be Adelaide's start to this season. I just think it's great to see, I guess, a new club emerge, at the top of the pack. I think, yes, still early days, but, from the signs they've shown compared to last season where it just seemed that just they fell off the rails, I just think it's been a great start for them. Yeah, considering they've only made the finals, I believe, once in their history. I think it's something crazy like that. So for them to have this good run of form to start off with. Let's hope they can keep that consistency going. And then lowlights, I haven't sort of thought of that as yet. Lowlights. Probably Western United last season, how they fell off so quickly. I mean, they had that great start. They got Cat Smith in, and then they had all those injuries, and you thought, like, what a shame because they had such a talented squad. And we were arguing last season on the podcast that they could potentially go all the way. And then to have that sort of snatched away from them without their control, I think it was a bit of a shame to see that occur because I generally thought the way they were playing, the way they were structured so well under Cat Smith defensively, especially in the attacking quality going forward. I thought, it's going to be very difficult to beat them, but no, they got stopped at the first hurdle in finals against a Jet side who did peak at the right time. So that was probably my low light overall.
Yep. No, I think that is totally fair.
I have mine 3 now, I think, for both.
Yep.
So the best ones, City winning the Premiership and qualifying, and City qualifying for the Champions League. I'm counting those as 2 separate things because they are.
Yep.
And third one, Michelle Heyman, 100 goals for Canberra.
Yes.
Now that I've actually thought about it for a second, so easy. The worst ones, grand final honking, no good, 0 to 10 for me at least. Also double headers, hate those, hated them when I first started following this, still hate them now. And the last one is Control Delete Field, and I'm saying nothing about that.
Yes, no, I have not had the chance to experience that yet. I am
Don't.
still planning to get there at some point this season.
I wouldn't.
Just because, no, it's part of my thing where I want to go to as many dub venues as possible. However good or bad they may not be.
Sunburn, bring a hat. Bring several hats.
Yes. I will bring a nice big sombrero to just cover everything. But no, you mentioning 100 goals for Canberra reminded me of something else. Unite round last year, Michelle Heyman becoming the first goal scorer in A-League women history to crack the century, just period. And she did it at Unite Round on what was scheduled to be a Canberra home game. So not getting to do it in front of a home crowd. She's only ever played for Canberra. We don't count her stints elsewhere. We do for statistical purposes. But there was a good smattering of people who made their way to Leichhardt Oval to celebrate Michelle Heyman's 100th goal, and give her the plaudits that she deserved. And that will do us for our for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Round Ball Australia Podcast Network. So we covered round 7. We covered our least favourite and our most favourite A-League women moments from 2024. Be sure to join us next week, where we are going to take a look at our least favourite and our most favourite national team moments on 2024, and we're going to take a look ahead to 2025 for both the A-League women and for the Australian women's national teams. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday, that you're just getting a chance to relax, celebrate, spend time with your family, enjoy yourselves. However you choose to spend the holidays, that is perfectly okay. Everyone does it in their own way. Me, personally, I spend all day in the kitchen cooking and watching movies because that's how I enjoy it. So however you celebrate the holidays or don't celebrate the holidays, everything is perfectly okay, because that's the wonderful part of what we call life. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.